Here's the first question. What do I do when I enjoy everyone at the company except my boss? So this is one that breaks my heart a little bit because I know statistically that the number one reason why people leave a job is because they don't connect with their boss. So you either don't feel like a friend to them, or that they don't feel friendly to you, you don't feel supported, don't feel listened to, all those problems. That's the number one reason why people leave their job. The number two reason why people don't leave their job is because they're not satisfied. It's not interesting work. It's not challenging in them and growing them. And so they're like, meh, this isn't fun and interesting and challenging. So they'll go and find a job, probably doing the same thing, but a little bit different at another company. But it'll just have that new feeling, right? And so it gets rid of that doldrums. But back to this situation where this question is like, what do I do when I don't enjoy my boss, but everybody else I love, everybody who's on my team, everybody that I'm connected with in the company, I enjoy them. What do I do when I don't get along with my boss? And so I feel like it's very important as an individual person to do your best to connect with your boss. And there are just going to be some things that our bosses do that is just what they do, and it's just obnoxious, it is challenging, and you just have to put up with it. And so there's an element of, can you put up with it enough, right? And so what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you have a boss who is historically really rude to people and historically is like calling people out in meetings or challenging people in meetings or something like that. And that's just who they are. Like maybe they have a very a personality that loves to debate. Maybe they're a person who loves to like just have that challenge and to have that dialogue and that interchange and that exchange with other people. Maybe that's just how they're wired. And so you're never going to change that about them. That's just something that you're just simply going to have to recognize and say, okay, I can't change that about them. So do I just enjoy it? Do I embrace it for what it is? Or is it something that's so bad that I can't work for them anymore because it just bothers me so much? So you'll have to make that personal choice, of course. And so my take on it is, are you doing what you can to build a relationship with your boss? Are you inviting that person to go out to lunch periodically, one-on-one? Are you making what am I trying to say? Choosing to look for opportunities to connect with your boss, like to pay attention to what are they interested in. So like, for example, for me, I could really kind of care less about sports. I don't really care for professional sports. It's just not something that's super important to me. The only time I really like to watch a sporting event of any type is when it's like the last inning, the last quarter, the last period, the last whatever. So I'm like, okay, I can just go and I can watch the last little bit of it. And especially like if the score is really close, then it's kind of fun because like, ooh, like, okay, like this is kind of when it's truly a match in my mind. And like, they're tired, the team members are tired, and they're going to step up to the plate and they're going to give all the gas that they've got, whatever's left in the tank, right? So to me, like, that's kind of an interesting dynamic. But for the most part, sitting there and watching people like dribble a basketball back and forth or throw a ball around, I'm just like, for the love, like I can think of about 17 other things I can rather be doing with my time. And I really actually hate the nonsensical chatter from the announcers and the people who do the interviewing. They're like, hey, and so you sported, and yeah, I sported, and we sported some more. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like rehashing the fact that you were throwing a ball around. And so to me, it's just something that just I don't enjoy. Now, my husband loves sports. I have other men in my life that enjoy sports. I have some friends of mine, girlfriends, who enjoy sports, and that's great. But I don't love sports. And so if I had a boss who enjoys sports, and I've worked for people like that before that are like avid football fans, men and women who just love football, and they have their teams and they wear the colors, and it's just like, it's this whole thing, right? And so I have purposely recognized in myself that I don't really care about sports. Okay, but they do, and it's something that's important to them. So I will pay attention to when the games are going to be on, and I'll make a comment about it. And if they win or lost, I will make a comment about it the next day when I see them at work or whatever. And so it just shows that I'm trying to be respectful of something that's of interest to them. And so, so anyhow, so those are some things you might want to think about, like, what are you doing to build that relationship? Plus, the more you get to know that person, the more you might come to understand why are they the way that they are, right? Because you can't change them. You cannot change a tiger's stripes. It will always be stripes, right? So anyhow, so that's just something that you might be able to do today in the now, even though deep in your heart, you might recognize, I got to leave this company. I cannot continue to work for this person. And that's totally fine. And I respect that. However, in the meantime, what can you do to build a relationship with them, or just to appreciate who they are as a human? And so, so anyhow, so that's a little tip for you. Again, and that question is, what do I do when I enjoy everyone at the company except my boss? Excuse me, I'm looking over at my notes here. I wanted to make sure I had the exact questions written down. So what do I do when I enjoy everybody else except for my boss? So that's a little tip for you, is get to know your boss on a personal basis. And I'm not talking about being all buddy-buddy, and I'm not talking about like going and brown nosing them or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about genuinely getting to know who they are and appreciating who they are and those things that they might be interested in. And it might help you to kind of come to terms and appreciate them a little bit more as a person. Okay.